Good afternoon from Victory North, beautiful Savannah, Georgia, on a sort of a beautiful fall day, sunny.
Crisp.
Yeah, beautiful out. Victory North, Savannah's coolest music and events venue. Was actually here last weekend for 80s Review. It's a really good time. North Point of View with Dr. Walter Kimsey's. Walter, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am good. Hey, well, in the news right now, it seems like one of the top three categories is this, hyper focus on inflation, right? What's going to happen? We get these bits and pieces of information that seem to suggest that the economy is sort of heading toward some type of overheating. And I know the last time that we sort of dug into this, you were more concerned about stagflation than you were inflation. Articles again this morning, the Wall Street Journal, talking about the threat of inflation. So bottom line, what you're thinking today as opposed to 3 months ago when we sort of drilled down on this?
I haven't really changed my view that much.
Okay.
To be completely honest. We did want to see how long the inflation rate could, stick around in the mid-single digits, which is why we started talking about it. But the next readings came out, and it looks like the momentum in inflation has gone away. We're still bouncing around 5-6%. What hasn't gone away, and this does surprise me, is looking at all of the costs. Some commodity prices have come down, but it's still expensive to get your hands on it because the Baltic Dry Freight Index, that's the index of lease rates for bulk ships, Handy Max, generally that kind of size, it's at its highest level since 2008. And so the commodity price might come down, but the delivered price is a different matter.
Right.
So that kind of pressure has come off. Even the container rates, we did hear about some very high spot rates for an occasional box or two, but we see the spot rates coming off. But what I think a lot about is the wages. And I just got today the Census County labor survey, and they give you for the 330 largest counties in the U.S. What employment is, what is percent change versus the same time last year. And they also give you the wage increases. And in some parts of the country, some counties are seeing 36 to 40% wage gains.
It's got to be inflationary though, right?
It has to be. So what we haven't seen is it show up in the consumer price index. And companies, they still feel like it's, most of the last 10 years, we haven't felt that good about the world, right? Everybody was still a price, taker. What I mean by that is there's two states of the world. One of them is you basically are told, your customer wants to do this, and this is how much they can pay for it. And you have to take that amount of money, take some of that out for the capital providers. Wall Street must be obeyed. And whatever is left, you use to see if you can get the job done. And that was cost minus return pricing. We've spent 10 years with that. And now it feels like it's turned around. Everything is priced, somebody asks you for something, you go my cost plus a markup. That's my price, take it or leave it.
Right.
So we've switched gears. And where this has really happened has been with labor. And not just here. It seems to be a global phenomenon. We'll talk about China at a different time, but China is also struggling with the same thing.
Right.
So wage increases like that, companies just haven't had the guts yet to put the costs through. The food guys have,
Gotcha.
But the folks in the department stores, etc., they really haven't raised their prices that much.
And these wages, is it catching up because of a lag? Or is it something? Is there another dynamic? And I saw this morning Biden's going to $15 an hour minimum wage for all federal employees. Amazon, Walmart have all sort of hit the news lately and going to $18, $19 per hour minimums. Was that deferred? Was it just time to catch up, or do you think it's sort of a reaction that's going to be inflationary?
I think it's going to be inflationary, but you know, for it to remain inflationary is a different thing. So if you get a one-time increase in the minimum wage or one-time shift here, and no other big shifts like that, then that initial impact on inflation will you'll get that rise, but then it'll taper off. Um, but looking at the wage thing, closely, because it's a really good point. Um, we are trying to repatriate production of goods that we feel are national security sensitive,
Right.
right? So it was just announced yesterday that Samsung is going to put or is it today? I forgot.
Today.
Yes, today.
Taylor, Texas.
That's right.
$17 billion
Right.
factory.
So, and that follows what Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation did back in 6-7 months ago. They're putting a fab in Arizona, which
Right.
I don't understand. Those fabs need a lot of water, and Arizona just doesn't strike me as a water abundant place.
I guess they're going deep, right?
Exactly. But anyways, so we do have some of that coming in. So there is strong demand for labor. Problem we have is our working age population is shrinking, and the retirement rate has gone up. So there may be more sustainability to the wage increases than I'm willing to give credit for at this point. But if I'm wrong, that's going to be where it is. Looking at the financial markets, a lot of us look at the 10-year Treasury minus the 10-year inflation indexed Treasury. So those two rates, the difference between them is the implied inflation rate for the next 10 years. And the average rate has been hovering around 2.5%. It has not really reacted to any of the inflation news. So what the market could be saying is that we're going to have slightly more inflation now than the 2% or less that we had in the last 20 years.
And in a way, I feel like it's sort of amazing the way that at least our economy has weathered the last 2 years.
Yes, that's true.
Right. And so, in terms of, I know wages, obviously it's tied to productivity, et cetera. But, even still at what I think is sort of a reset with wages, people are still finding it hard to hire people to do the job they need to do right now.
Yeah, that is something changed about the psyche of the worker. And it's not just in the U.S. I was reading South China Morning Post. It's a Hong Kong paper that I always read, every weekend, just because you can't ignore China. And they were talking about something called Tang Peng, which means laid back. And what a lot of the workers are doing is they're not going into factories. They don't want to go back to factories. They don't want to sleep at factories. And we'll talk about this in and maybe in another video. But it's China, Vietnam, Germany, the US. It's hard to find workers. And I think the coronavirus, they're having to be shut in and not socialize enough, may have something to do with it. So that's the stuff I've been reading and trying to figure out, because this is a serious issue.
What did you call it? Tang?
Tang Peng, Teng, and then Ping.
And your phrase to that was sort of laid back, but in a way that there's sort of a pivot toward what I'm going to get out of bed and leave my house and go do, right?
Exactly.
Maybe I go surfing today instead of go to the office at North Point, right?
Well, no,
that's to Steve Kelly, by the way.
That is it. Good for Steve. No, but that's exactly what's happening is with this laid back movement. They take a day job, go to Snelling and Snelling, wait outside, with all the other guys who don't have real, permanent jobs. And you get picked to be a gardener, to be a mover, whatever. And they work for a day, maybe two, and then they don't work for the next 3 to 5 days. They go sit in the park bench.
And to roll back around, though, on inflation, just to put a bow on that, you're going to go back, you're going to hold steady, moderate inflation, with an eye toward stagflation, depending on how we continue to sort of work through the choppy waters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even factories are leaving China because there's a labor shortage there. They go to other places where you can still get cheap labor. There still is a drain, of the cost support for inflation. But let's just be very careful here, because if we learned one thing, and it is, do not build long-term expectations off of short-term circumstances. And this pandemic is not endemic yet, right? Until we get there, it's just not a normal situation that you can start from and then make your projections.
So not only did you get the economic forecast, but you're getting a life lesson here today from Walter Kinsey's. Don't build long-term expectations from short-term experiences.
Exactly.
All right. Hey, that's it from today. Walter Kinsey's Mark Hall. Have a great afternoon.